France. What a breathtaking country. This nation has stood for centuries, going through wars and famines to honor its heritage. Besides, it is probably one of the richest heritages in the world. Whether it's food, proverbs, or architecture, it's all there. No, we're not going to show you 10 interesting facts about France, not today at least, because now we're going to focus our attention on French cities. And yes, France is far from being summed up in just Paris. So, are you ready? Right away, here is a top 10 of the cities you absolutely must visit in France. Hop, hop, hop! Looks like you're watching this video without even leaving a like or subscribing. Yet, this is the best way to support us. So if this video appeals to you and maybe your city is here too, you know what you have to do. Come on, let's get started then. Number 10. Lille. Lille is a bit like a capital for the Hauts-de-France region. It seduces with its atypical stone architecture, its cobbled streets, small squares, and all its incredible buildings bear witness to a long history for Lille. In fact, one of the oldest houses still standing dates from 1595. It was at this time that a great architectural ambition began. Magistrates decide to build only in stone so that hardly anything remains of the Burgundian era of yesteryear. Yet this city is very old, as it was said to have been founded in the year 640. It must be admitted that due to its geographical location close to Belgium and the Netherlands, the city has opted for Flemish-style architecture. If you walk around Lille, you can also enjoy the views from the Belfry. Inaugurated in 1932, this building is a UNESCO heritage site. With a height of 100 meters practically built only of bricks, it gives a magnificent view of the city. And this is not the only monument to amaze you. There's also the Roubaix swimming pool, which has a very misleading name because it in fact is a museum. Number 9. Montpellier. Elegant and cultural, Montpellier is a real pleasure for the eyes. Thanks to its architecture, which is all in all very different from the previous city. The latter dates from the 17th and 18th centuries when impressive monuments were built. Among them, we obviously find the Place de la Comédie, which is the most famous in the city. The Arc de Triomphe à la Montpellier and the Promenade de Peyroux were also built. Besides, if you think this Arc de Triomphe is a kind of copy of the one in the capital, think again. It was built in 1691 by Augustin Charles d'Avillers, an architect from Languedoc, while the Arc de Triomphe in Paris was built from 1806. We find in the city of Montpellier a rather picturesque atmosphere, which is perfect for soaking up the historical culture of the place. We are mainly referring to the Écossen, a pedestrian area which is actually the old city center. In addition, and thanks to its geographical location, the city of Montpellier is cradled by the sun and the sea. Like the previous city, Montpellier is a bit like the capital of Languedoc-Roussillon. Number 8. Kolmar. It was in 823 that Kolmar was cited for the first time in a text by Charlemagne's son. At the time, large wooden buildings, barns, stables, press, barnyard, and dovecotes were all that the city of Alsace contained. Nothing more normal for the time of the Middle Ages. However, things got more complicated from 1106, when the city was completely devastated by a fire. From there, somehow it rebuilt itself. The city grew, becoming an imperial city in the 18th century, proof that water has passed under the bridges. And it is the case to say, Kolmar is bordered by what we call Little Venice. This river used to be where goods were brought, but today it's entirely dedicated to tourism. You can therefore take a boat ride with a breathtaking view of the magnificent colorful houses in a picturesque context. It's also an opportunity to taste Alsatian specialties such as Flammekuchen, or also known as tarte flambée. Number 7. Annecy. Direct the Alps to meet a magnificent city, Annecy. There are few places as picturesque as the pretty Annecy, especially with its famous lake. These mountain waters are clear and yearn for peace, flowing to Thau, a small river in the region. This is the opportunity for a walk along the canals before heading through the small cobbled streets that form the village. This historic city center is very old. In fact, the first people to have lived in Annecy date from 200 years before Jesus Christ. They were called the Allobroges. In the meantime, the city has evolved with the reforms to become a jewel of French culture. We obviously think of its prestigious castle. This is an old fortress from the 12th century, which once housed the counties of Geneva. Nowadays, this fortress has been converted into a museum to allow the most curious to benefit from the heritage of the region. Other elements make the charm of Annecy. This is the case with Pont des Amours, for example, which overlooks the lake perfectly. Finally, the Imperial Palace is also a pearl of modern culture as it was built in 1913. This imposing hotel is still open more than 100 years after its inauguration. Finally, the charm of Annecy is enhanced by the weather. Located in Haute-Savoie, the city is as pleasant in summer as in winter, with mild but sunny temperatures. Number 6. Avignon. Still further south, you will not resist the charm of Avignon if you like the Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur region. Not very far from Aix-en-Provence, this provincial town that is Avignon is home to a population that dates back to prehistoric times. This discovery dates from 1960, where a small stele was discovered after several excavations. It was in the area of Doms Rock. What is even more impressive is that polished stone axes were found after the same excavation. In short, Avignon has a long history and has much more to offer than its famous bridge, which in reality is called the Sainte Bénézette Bridge. The Palais de Papes is proof of this. It is the largest Gothic palace in the Western world. Number 5. Biarritz. For this fifth French city, we move further west, where we find the magnificent city of Biarritz. It's known for being one of the most beautiful seaside resorts on the Atlantic coast, located in the Bay of Biscay. It's a bit of a go-to place for those who surf. Fortunately, we have many more reasons to introduce you to Biarritz. For example, you'll discover many vestiges of the past, or exceptional cultural sites such as the Imperial Chapel, which dates from the 1860s. To enjoy the landscape and the most resplendent views of the city, many decide to go to the Biarritz Lighthouse. Other sublime places decorate the city, such as the Atalaya Plateau of the Rocher de Vierge. Number 4. Marseille. The name of Marseille surely evokes many different images, but after having visited the city, the image that you'll remember the most is surely that of the historic districts. That's not to mention its iconic old port. This is the very foundation of the city, whether by its age or by its activity. Moreover, it still hosts a market in summer, which makes it one of the oldest active ports in the world. In addition, the coast and its creeks also have an international reputation. Another emblem of Marseille is its Notre-Dame de la Garde Basilica. On its site, there was already a chapel. However, the current basilica was built from 1853. Its stone architecture is very impressive. It was made from scratch with stones from Florence. This form of influence is reflected somewhat in the Roman Byzantine style of the structure. At the top of the basilica culminates a golden statue of the Madonna and Child which measures 11.2 meters high. In other words, it's difficult to resist the charms of Marseille as you visit the city. It is both ancient and modern, peaceful and lively, cultural and sporting. This very varied city can reveal all of its facets if only for a weekend. And yes, 2 days can be enough to soak up the Mediterranean culture, which shows that there is no excuse to not visit this city. Number 3. Bordeaux. Bordeaux is a treasure of French heritage for several reasons. Firstly, its center is easily visited, and brasseries where you can taste good wine are waiting for you on every corner. Then, it's clear that historical sites and monuments constitute an integral part of the city. Because the history of Bordeaux is not just any one, traces of archaeology indicate that the city was founded at least 600 years before Jesus Christ. It's therefore more than 1,000 years of history that forged Bordeaux, and this can be seen in structures such as the Cathedral of Saint-André. It was in this building that 2 royal weddings took place. That of Eleanor Aquitaine with Louis VII, but also that of Anne of Austria and Louis XIII, King of France and Navarre. And to think that it is possible to visit these places surrounded by former kings of France. Another very pleasant visit is that of Vieux-Bordeaux. This picturesque district perfectly represents the heritage, in particular with the pedestrian street, Sainte Catherine. Number 2. Saint Malo. One of the favorite destinations for Europeans, Saint Malo is a city that you absolutely must visit, even if it's only time for a weekend. Seaside resort, for example, the Breton city remains dynamic, although its maritime history of several centuries is quite far behind. If the ramparts and the Saint Vincent de Zaragoza Cathedral deserve your full attention, It is just as delightful to go and discover the statues before bearing the effigy of Jacques Cartier or Chateaubriand. The Grand Jardin Lighthouse is also a historical monument. It has been classified as such since 2012 and it contains a classical Breton symbol. Number 1. Paris. It's impossible not to talk about the capital in this video. Of all the beautiful cities in France, Paris is one that you absolutely must visit. With the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, the Invalides, the capital is known for its must-see places, but beyond its tourist sites, it is also full of secrets and riches. The most romantic city in France was founded over 200 years before Jesus Christ and has continued to shine ever since. Discovering Paris therefore means not only enjoying the monuments and its Haussmann-style architecture, but also enjoying its gastronomy. And what better way to do this than a cruise on the Seine, for example? Moreover, visiting Paris by night is an unforgettable experience. From the famous Champs-Élysées to the Sacré-Cœur, the city is illuminated and shines with 1,000 lights. So much for the 10 cities to visit in France. Which of these cities do you want the most? Have you visited any of them before? Tell us about it in the comments, and if you liked the video, be sure to leave us a like before you go and subscribe to our channel for more content. We say thank you and see you soon.